Guys, this video is sponsored by Full Reptile Collective, brought to you by Dan Hardy. Head over to their website at fullreptile.co.uk where you can find anything from training gear, t-shirts, hoodies, all the way to coffee. For an exclusive 10% off, use Dan Said So at checkout. Make sure to also check out their YouTube channel for some of the best MMA content out there, bar my own. Let's get back to the video. Okay, 13th of August, guys. Marlon Vera versus Dominick Cruz is the headline on the fight. 5 rounds. Dominick Cruz coming off a win over Pedro Munoz back end Christmas time in 2021. I think it was on the Oliveira Poirier card. Before that, did get a split over Casey Kenny. Don't know how it was a split. He definitely beat Casey Kenny. And before that, obviously getting his legs kicked out from under him by Henry Cejudo. To me, was a very early stoppage. He was making his way up. He was grappling him. He was getting hit in the face, but you can't defend your face and climb up a guy. I think it was still early. I know he complained a lot about it, hence the Keith Peterson alcohol, cigarettes kind of protests. But
yeah,
the guy has never lost a fight that isn't a title fight.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the most underappreciated MMA greats to me. Now, that is a little bit of a fanboy, but he really is. If you look at his resume, he is an absolute monster. Multiple wins over Uriah Faber, beating Demetrius Johnson. When he came back against Mizugaki after all those injuries, ragdolled him for a minute and smashed his face into oblivion. Beat TJ Dillashaw. Like, he's a beast. The dude is amazing. He's fighting a guy that doesn't care how you score rounds, doesn't try and win a round. He tries to fuck you up and hurt you badly. He was losing on paper all the rounds to Rob Font. He was getting outstruck, he was getting outworked. But did he lose a round against Rob Font? I think he lost one, and it's because he elbowed him for 50 seconds of the fight. He kicked his legs from under him. Mm-hmm. He smashes every bit of you to bits. And he's vicious. He's a proper destructive fighter, and he's on a 3-fight win streak, including that notable knockout over Frankie Edgar, the front kick. I know who you're picking, but I want to hear, do you have any reason you could possibly side with Dominick Cruz in this one?
Of course. I mean, everything you just said
good.
there. He's an absolute legend. He's only lost to champions. The Cejudo fight, you can argue, was stopped early. I don't think it was. But one thing you can't really argue with is that Dom takes punches incredibly well, takes damage incredibly well. One of his best skills with his movement is not getting hit, but when he does get hit, he rolls with the punches, so to speak. So, I mean, I'll be honest, the Frankie Edgar fight, Frankie was winning a couple of those rounds before Vera got the finish. And Frankie's much more close to being washed or finished with his career than Dominick Cruz, I would argue. But, you said it before we got on here, 7 fights since 2014 for Dominick Cruz. And there's a reason for that. He is a broken guy in a lot of ways at this point. He can't really stay healthy. That's a long time not to fight after that win over Munoz too, since December. That's kind of interesting to me.
I wonder if his commentary is a big part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I have questions about, I think that has to be brought up quite often. Brought up with Anthony Smith this weekend, who struggled to make weight, but has like 5 commentary gigs and a podcast and all this. It's kind of the same things here with Dominick Cruz. You can't have your eye on 2 things. You can't, no matter how much you want to convince yourself you do. And for me, Marlon Vera is made for 5 rounds. He showed that with the Font fight, but Font also came into that fight very, very compromised. I said it leading into the fight. I do think it affected his ability to take a punch. And if he's not dropped in 2 of those rounds, Font might arguably have won that fight on 2 of the judges' scorecards. And that's where my hesitancy comes in here. I think Dom can steal rounds very well. Dom knows how to fight for 5 rounds. He knows how to avoid damage. Marlon Vera is a very low volume striker too. Very low volume, and especially early on. So, yeah, I'm quite nervous in this fight. I think this is one of the guys towards the top of the division that gives Chito the hardest time of advancing. I think that, even in the Jose Aldo fight with Marlon Vera, you saw Jose Aldo kind of take a more technical, defensive-minded approach, much more than he usually takes in his fights. And it gave Vera a lot of trouble. Vera struggles with defensive-minded fighters. This is one that, for me, I'm nervous as a Marlon Vera fan. It's a huge, huge opportunity. He's never main evented a fight before. I've got to imagine he's going to be pushing the pace, looking to go for the finish. I hope he does, because I think trying to win a 5-round decision against Dom Cruz is a tough ask. I think he's going to, push it early. We're going to see how Dom responds to kind of the pressure and the damaging shots of Vera. We're going to know, I think we'll either see Dominick Cruz's, I hate to say it, but we'll see Dominick Cruz's hand raised at the end of this by a decision, or we're going to see his gloves in the middle after I think he gets finished. That's how I really don't see it any other way. Either Dom gets into his game plan, works it. I'm not sure which octagon this will be in San Diego also, but if it's a smaller one, advantage Chito. The bigger one, a little more advantage for Dom. But this is definitely not a fight I'm walking into as a Marlon Vera fan. I'm much less confident than I was with the Rob Font fight. I told you over and over again before the Font fight, Font just took the worst beating of his life and he's coming back. That's not what Dom Cruz is coming off of. Dom Cruz hardly got touched against Munoz for the most part, which is, it is what it is at this point, but still. So, yeah, I'm nervous. I'm really nervous in this one. I'm still going to go with Marlon, but I assume he's going to be a big favorite, or a favorite at least. And, that would make me nervous in this spot. I got Legend, who's only lost to champions, and in his one finish, it was arguable. He was getting up. He definitely doesn't have a suspect chin from anything we've seen.
Yeah. The only thing I will say is Font and Chito was a headline. So he has headlined before.
True. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Yep,
yeah, it's just that one.
Second time.
Before comments happen. Because
second time to 14 or 15.
Exactly. Yeah, to the guy that headlines the most. He's one of the GOATs of the division.
Yeah, and it's just like a lot of people coming up now, they don't understand what Dom Cruz was. I think it's pretty cool that Dom Cruz win in 2022 still holds this much weight, because if Vera's able to finish Dom Cruz, he's in talks for a title shot next.
Yeah. And the one thing you can take is, what does Vera do really well, other than diverse skill set where he uses a front kick as a jab. He will headhunt with it as well. He'll make you think he's keeping going to the body, and all of a sudden he'll wheel dive up top, which he did to Frankie. But he kicks your legs out from under you, and it's how you stop Dom. You need to smash his legs to bits, and that's exactly what Vera does. Yeah, I would not be surprised if you do not see a lot of hands from Chito for the opening 2 rounds. The first round, I think he's going to completely dedicate to just hitting that lead leg and destroying that completely bizarre angled, only Justin Buchholz can impersonate movement of Dominick Cruz. It's so unique. Not very few people have figured it out, and for a reason. But Dom doesn't have sensational knockout power. I agree with you. He's not going to knock Chito out. Not a chance. He could grapple. You might see Dominick Cruz wrestle here. Frankie Edgar held him down for a round. You could see Dominick Cruz steal around.
And another problem is Chito's very willing to grapple from the bottom. He has very high
elbows off the bottom.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And that is a problem.
Yeah. It's a problem for scorecards, not a problem for his game, which is damage. So you never know how he's thinking. I like how Chito fights, though. He's not worried about judges. It is what it is. If he loses, he's looking to he's like an old, he's how Thai fighters fight.
Yeah.
You hit me 30 times, I hit you once. I make you win, so I win.
The Song Yadong fight very close as well. If he gets the positive in that one, he's on like 9 of his last 10 type of run here.
Just Aldo beating him pretty decisively, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but I mean, look at again. We talked about there's the DC sirens for you, but we talked about in a previous fight the response to the Wonderboy loss and how we saw 2 fighters respond to that. The response to the Aldo loss to me has been very encouraging from Chito. It's let him know what he needs to do to get to championship level. Again, a win here over Dom maybe even sets up another Aldo fight. Who knows? For a title eliminator. I don't think Aldo wants to see Chito again. Again, Chito, one of my favorite fighters. Anytime my favorite fighters fight, I'm nervous. It's just how it is. So. I think this is a huge opportunity for both guys. If Dom gets this win, it should be very, very rated, and same for Chito. That's what you want out of a headliner. And this is in San Diego, so I'm pretty sure this is basically a home fight for Dom Cruz. But I don't think that Chito has to travel too far either. But I know Dom's from the San Diego area, so definitely going to be comfortable there. And just another thing to kind of note here. So I'm very interested to see this fight, and I'm nervous, but obviously Marlon Chito Vera is my pick.
By finish.
Yeah, he gets a finish.
Well,
and
I am the opposite way.
we see Dom Cruz's gloves in the middle of the octagon in San Diego, retiring if he can talk after the KO.
Well, I'm going very frustrating decision for Chito Vera. I'm going like Dominick Cruz is
No,
going to win.
not. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, Vera's going to be frustrated because Dom's going to win a decision.
We'll see. Should be a
That's
good
what I
one.
reckon. Awesome.
Yep.